Amazing tech, you need to have amazing marketing as well. And then we mainly focus on doing an outreach with the founder. We mainly build our own thesis as a fund, focus on certain main categories. Just making an investment decision on flashy clothes would not make sense. So we sort of sit down and figure out whether there's an interesting opportunity. Yeah, I think the crypto market is always hooked on new ideas.
Sure. One word to describe the future of Web3. Just one word. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Hash It Over podcast, presented to you by the Unchained Summit, which is coming to Dubai for its very first edition, 28th, 29th of April. Trust me, whatever it is that you do within the blockchain, tech space, Web3, investors, speaker, and newcomer wanting to connect with, with some high profile individuals in the space, unchainedsummit.com. Buy your tickets right now, and I will see you there on the 28th and the 29th of April. Now, sitting right across from me is, can I call you a veteran in the space?
I don't know if you want
Sure. I mean, I'm happy to call you a veteran in the space. Karan Gandhi, partner at Cypher Capital. Thank you for joining me on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Now,
pleasure.
I was planning on starting this interview by reading out your introduction on LinkedIn. Am I allowed to do that?
Well, you can just ask me, yeah.
Okay, well, you're a self-starter, data-driven professional with over a decade of experience in private equity, venture capital, capital markets, investments, and banking. Known to have strong business acumen and an entrepreneurial mindset, adding value in Web3 startups, investment analysis, tokenomics, financial model. Too much. Like you've probably
I would say that's
done it all.
linked to optimize, like optimizing for keywords. But yeah, my experience has been a mix of working for a leading bank in the UAE. I did a lot of working capital lending work over there. Ended up then joining a hedge fund trading for the US markets. And from there, I ended up moving into PE, with private equity, investing across Middle East, Africa, Europe for an Omani family office. So that is like the starting point of the investment cycle for me. But then I got a bit bored in the whole process. I wanted to do a bit more. So I ended up joining a venture studio where I was doing startups from 0 to 1. So pretty much try to cover as much as possible. I'm not a master in any specific asset class, but I'm like, jack of all trades, try to get as much information as possible.
Right. Now, we've agreed pre-interview that whenever I cross the red line, you can tell me, Saif, be quiet. Okay, what I mean? I'm not allowed to talk about this. Now, how much money are we talking about that you guys are kind of like handling?
So Cypher, some context here, like we're basically multi-strat investment fund, mainly based out of Dubai, focusing only on digital assets. We started investing in early 2022, started with a 100 million prop cap fund.
Oh, wow.
So we're backed by the founder of Phoenix Group. It's a listed company in Abu Dhabi Stock Exchange. They are Bitcoin miners predominantly and have been expanding globally as well in the mining business. So very happy to have them on board as our investors. And we mainly manage that particular capital in the space. And now we're actually working towards launching our second fund. So hopefully that'll start next year. So pretty excited about that.
Very exciting. Now, I come to your office, right? I enter your office. We've never met before. I know that you're an investor or you handle some sort of cash.
Yeah.
And you are willing to kind of lend that to startups or projects that you see potential in. I come into your office, pair of Nike sneakers, jeans, just a normal t-shirt, right?
Yeah.
Random guy coming into your office and I'm like, hey, my name is Saif. I'm the co-founder of a project called X, Y, and Z. We are a crypto exchange, right? Leveraging on AI tools to make the whole experience of trading, more automated and simpler for newcomers into the space.
Great.
What's your thought?
Well, are you pitching me for an investment?
Yeah, and I'm looking for, I'm looking for an investment of $1 million that will be mainly allocated towards marketing in the first phase.
Yeah.
But we're also planning on launching our tokens, so some of that will be injected into liquidity. Where did I lose you in this?
Well, we've not even started because to do an investment, right,
Okay.
we have a particular process. We mainly build our own thesis as a fund, focus on certain main categories, and then we mainly focus on doing an outreach with the founder and reaching out to projects of interest, then having inbounds. But in your case, since you've reached out for an investment, we would typically explore what's the market size, where you're going to compete, what's your skill set like, what's your background, what have you worked on, why you on this as a project founder, why not someone else, and is there a market opportunity on what you're building. Building an exchange always sounds like a very great business in crypto, right? But it's not. It's easier said than done. You need a lot of
100%.
licensing. You need to have the right team. You need to have the right
Competitiveness.
mindset. Tech is very important, actually. Amazing tech. You need to have amazing marketing as well. So all these things are important, and just making an investment decision on flashy clothes would not make sense. So we sort of sit down and figure out whether there's an interesting opportunity, whether there's something that we could work on. And then if it makes sense, then after maybe 2 months or 3 months, we end up investing in that company.
Now you spoke about your early beginnings, right, in the traditional banking space.
Yeah.
How did your philosophy as an individual, right, changed or evolved rather from being an investor or someone that handles, cash in a traditional banking space into the Web3 world?
That's a great question. I think the biggest learning I've had in this space, I used to do venture investing in the Web2 space as well. Traditional tech companies, invested in fintech, consumer tech as well. And when you sort of look into the Web2 versus Web3 lens of investing, you sort of learn that digital asset space is like extremely fast paced. Like, there's so much happening at once. There's so many sectors or subsectors evolving. And, between my entry in this space in 2017 as a retail investor to then slowly becoming a bit more advanced in the space as a retail still, and then finally getting into Cypher as an investor, starting with associate, then moving towards the partner level over the last 3.5 years, I've learned that crypto is evolving at a very dynamic, rapid pace, right? Projects that you sort of would invest in this space also kind of change overall. They're also like every investor talks about narratives, what is hot, what's not. They also talk about sectors that it might be interesting to invest in. But for me, like overall, from 2017 to now, I've seen the whole space has changed completely. Right? We started off with a lot of projects trying to figure out, versus today, you need to know what you have to do. Like, you need to know what you're building. You need to have a proper plan. You need to have a proper mindset, proper architecture, the right team, obviously. And you have to be very careful on how you launch things as well.
Extremely careful.
Yeah.
Now more than ever.
Yeah. So as an investor, it's been like a very tricky situation, or sort of tricky market for investors right now, mainly including us, right? Because we are navigating across what's happening in the space. We're also trying to figure out the pulse of the market. Plus, the whole market is very much impacted right now with macro events as well. And it's also about how do you take an exposure on a certain sector, and how do you diversify your portfolio. Like, even running $100 million fund, we don't put all our eggs in one basket, of course. But we try to diversify as much as possible. And then sometimes we end up also doing concentrated bets. So the short answer for your question is that it's tricky. Things have evolved a lot because crypto is innovating at a rapid pace. Maybe right now we've been mainly focusing on investing in a lot of growth blue chip companies, which are already listed. But say in 2022 or 2020, we were heavily investing in early stage startups, which were, more innovation focused, focused on new sectors and, certain spaces growing bigger in the crypto space.
I'm not sure about the rest of the world, but we spoke earlier about, your entry into the whole crypto blockchain space and my entry into that kind of world. And I remember just a good couple of years ago, not long ago, when I first had my first exposure into the crypto space, and we used to, put these meetups together in Dubai. Barely 20 people used to show up, barely. And majority of them were from actually traditional banking trying to they were very intrigued about this whole crypto space. And look at it right now, just a few years down the line, literally Dubai has become the hub.
100%. I think, yeah, it's a good point. We started off with this conversation, how we met and, how we know each other and stuff. But the most crazy part about where we are recording this in Dubai is so progressive, right? I mean, and I remember those days.
Does it scare you?
It doesn't actually. We're both born in Dubai. How can we be scared with
No,
this
no,
sort of
it's
scale
about
of,
this kind of rapid.
No, and not
You know
at
what I
all.
mean?
No, it's progressive. We're
Okay.
adopting technology at a rapid pace. Actually, I'm a bit proud about that. That as a country, sort of, UAE has always been at the forefront, right? And back in 2017, I remember those days, and it's so true that there were these events, and there were only like maybe less than 20 people.
Yeah.
I think for me, I was in those events, the Dubai Blockchain Center events, and it was in the youth hubs and whatnot. And for me at that time, I was working in finance, right? Studying for my CFA. I think I was doing CFA level 3. And for me, the crypto world was like an innovation in the fintech space, right? It felt like fintech 2.0, probably the first time a specific industries popped out for the payment rails of the world, right? And this is massive. This is going to be impactful on a global level. And I was just curious about things. My intention was always to understand things. And from there till the whole Dubai ecosystem, even Abu Dhabi and UAE ecosystem has popped up. It's crazy, but it's great. Like so many people moving to this region to explore the opportunities out here, and it is definitely a hub for sure.
I mean, the amount of multinational companies within the blockchain space that have made the UAE their headquarters in the last couple of years is insane.
Yeah, it's bullish.
I know.
Bullish.
Very, very,
Very
bullish.
bullish.
Now, you spoke about how you've started off at Cypher Capital as an associate, and now you've become a partner. What does that mean? Like, so you used to get a wage and now you get dividends, or how does it work?
Well, for me, it doesn't really change as much. For me, I was even at that time passionate about investing in the space. I was fortunate to have this opportunity with Cypher to grow in the team, but I still do the same thing. I still source the opportunities. I still speak to my old friends and continuing partnerships and network. Still do the same thing as I used to do back then when I was an associate. I think a lot of things that have changed is where I've started taking a bit more sort of responsibility in managing the portfolio, understanding sort of how do we grow from here, what are the other opportunities in the space, and sounding like a partner, like it sounds a big title, but for me it's always about keeping it fun, looking at more stuff, still curious about new.
It's always
things.
fun when you talk about money.
Sure.
It's fun to me, at least.
Sure. But still keeping curiosity on hand, because there's so many new things happening in the space. So, every day or every week we're trying to figure out what's new, what's happening, how things are moving, and I'm always excited to see what's coming forward in the space. For me, the crypto innovation and where we go from here to the next 10 years is more fun as a journey. And being a partner, of course, you have those benefits or powers or whatnot. But yeah, super excited.
Now, Cypher Capital, homegrown investment firm.
Yes.
Right. This is huge. I'm sure starting off in the space, or maybe you and your partners were looking at role models, whether it's individuals or companies that you kind of looked up to when starting off Cypher Capital. What are some of the kind of...
Well, that's an interesting question. I think when we started, when I joined Cypher, that was the early days in 2022. At that point, we started with this mindset, okay, we're a fund, it's a new brand. We have to be very thoughtful about our deployments. In crypto or anywhere, even if you start a fund in any sort of sector, even not crypto, you only get one shot, right? If you don't do well with your first fund, you don't end up doing a second one. Or, if you don't manage your capital well, you don't get funding in the next term. So we were very clear from day one that we have to be very focused towards the theses that we've built from day one.
Which is?
We had 4 theses. We were focusing on infrastructure, and we're focusing on consumer and application layer, which now you can count DeFi gaming a bit more as well, added into the pool of application layer. But in the beginning, when we started, we're just focusing on infra and consumer. That's it. So 50% infra, 50% consumer. Then we later evolved it into still infra and then consumer, gaming, DeFi, and a bit of mix. But still, we didn't touch as many sectors as we wanted to touch. We just kept it as simple as possible and focusing on heavy hitters that are really clearing the winning portfolio of winning companies and sort of keep deploying there. Maybe over the last 1-2 years, we also changed the strategy a bit, looking at the markets, changed it from being a very heavy early investor to being a hybrid investor, which means we didn't deploy everything in early stage, which means like seed rounds or, companies just starting off. We also sort of invested a bit concentrated capital on blue chip companies. So, we can hedge the portfolio a bit and, have some consistent returns. But from the starting point till where we have reached now, we started with sort of no network, right? New fund, no connections, starting to build a network out here. And for us, the role models at that time were all the big funds, all the big funds in the US, in Asia. They have already done 1 or 2 cycles. They started in 2017.
Web3 funds or just funds in general?
Web3 funds, right?
Okay.
Right. And we got a lot of, opportunities to connect with them, share deals with them, also co-invest with a lot of them. And we learned a lot from them as well, right? All our friends and, people in the network that we chat with regularly, they've always been helping us. We also share a lot of stuff that we are looking at. Sometimes there's a research that we spend a lot of time on and we end up building a thesis on it and we share it across with our network. But for us, like the role model or the thesis was always like, we're starting from the Middle East, right? Digital asset space is going to grow in this region. We believe there's a gap that there's a need for a serious fund that actively deploys and a fund that knows what it's doing, focuses on crypto only. It's not just a mix of Web 2 and Web 3, just Web 3 focused and just keep on consistently delivering good research and returns and grow the fund as well. So that was the initial thought. It was just start, keep deploying, be consistent. You're building it from the region. This region is going to keep growing. You're going to keep growing. That's it.
Okay. How is the kind of Web3 investment kind of world differs in the MENA region than other parts in the world? And the fact that you guys have a Dubai label on you, does that make you special or is it a downside, if anything?
I think given the current state of market, no fund is always like given a edge over anyone else. I think it's equally competitive to be participant in big top tier deals. It's not easy to get in and you have to show your value add. Fortunately for us, the geographical diversification has been a plus point because whenever big projects are raising capital globally, they are not only just looking for investors from, say, the US region or, say, Europe or Asia, they're also looking from investors from the Middle Eastern region. And since we've got such a strong footprint out here, we do end up doing a lot of work supporting these companies and also being investors as well in the end. Typical companies that we are proud in the fund that we have already is like we have the Series A investors of Sui. Then we ended up investing in Ton. We did Berachain and a few other projects as well. So in the end, it's not a label thing. I feel it's about if you are able to offer enough value, then you could be in Dubai or you could be somewhere else. And if the founder sees any worthwhile value out of it, they should consider you.
Do you guys offer any other value apart from just financial support?
Of course.
Yeah?
Financial support is the bottom tier.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, of course. We for us, a lot of time, it's very important to understand how do we invest, right? We just don't speak to a team and then decide on investing. There's a proper process to it. So first of all,
so you guys refute that propaganda that, hey, we're a Dubai investment firm. Take our money. That's what people think.
Well, in the end, you need to make returns. I think that's what's important, right? And to be successful, I feel you need to be very thorough with your process. I think that was always clear with Cypher, like from day one. Like we have a straightforward process of deployment. We just don't deploy on everything. We are very selective. We are very research driven about projects. So our typical pipeline would look like we've built a thesis on, say, a certain sector. Let's just say DeFi, right? And then in DeFi, we look at what chains have, say, enough volume, or let's say the volume is flowing in a certain chains, and we highlight those chains that there's some excitement going on here, right? And then we filter down what ideas are interesting. Do you need another lending protocol on this particular chain, or do you need something new? Most of the cases in DeFi, we always ended up coming with an outcome that we don't want to invest in straightforward fundamental projects on DeFi, but invest in capital optimization projects, like taking your capital from one chain to another chain, or generating yield on the same amount of assets. Mostly things which are innovative in the space.
Okay.
And then we build that thesis. We reach out to some project. We hunt them down, try to get connected to them, and then the whole process starts. Hey, we want to invest in your team. If you're raising, let's start. And then that conversation goes on and on. Sometimes they are raising, and then we end up figuring out what do they need, right? Money or sort of capital is the last of the pile for VCs these days. It's impossible to really be in a strong projects investment round if you're not offering enough value. And value add really depends on project to project. It could be from making more introductions, helping them raise more capital. If it's a DeFi project, maybe helping them increase their TVL, get more TVL on the protocol, which we do a lot as well. We do help a lot there. Introductions to exchanges, helping them local activation, like activating their market in the Middle East. We've done that for few top tier projects where we spent more than 6 months doing something locally for them. Mainly they're linked to activations, creating some sort of network for them. Then there's marketing support, which as a VC we don't do as much marketing. Mainly our strength is on capital, raising TVL, supporting them on growth. We help in strategy as well. I think that's also a very big component, because we do a lot of research. We have some data points that we have clear thesis on, like this works, this doesn't work, we've seen it not working, or this particular architecture is not accurate.
Right. This is where your experience comes in.
Yeah, this revenue model may work, may not work. We've not seen it work. Or if you're doing, say, token buybacks or token burn, like what's the percentages like, all that stuff, right? All the number stuff. We do end up offering all this on the house, right? If you're our portfolio company, it's free. Like you just come to our office, get on a call with us, whatever. Just share what you need, and then we start working on it. Or at least if you want a second opinion, then we can even look into it.
How could people get in touch with you or Cypher Capital if they have a project sitting on their laps?
It's easy. Just email us. Just go to our website. There's a contact button. There's a
That's what everybody says. Is it that easy? Like, can they actually?
We do actually filter a lot.
Okay.
So actually that's a funny thing, because we have a dedicated person in the team whose job, maybe 20% of his job is to actually look at who's contacted us.
Because you go to these conferences and there is one guy like you who says, oh, scan the QR code and reach out. I'm always on my email. And then you email him and you don't hear back from him.
I mean, if you meet me in person, you can always pitch the idea to me. Like I'm
okay.
not...
You're one of those guys.
Yeah, I'm not running away. Like if you meet me in an event, just say hi. I'm building this. I'm more than happy to learn more. But if, say, you've got no contact, or you're not in an event where you've met me, then the best way to reach out is probably our website. Because it goes through the whole investment team and ends up coming up.
Right. Earlier when I pitched you my imaginary project, I dropped in the word AI. Which sector in the kind of Web3 space that you see most potential in, or you guys as a team, you go like, this is what we want to focus on this year because we see a lot of growth in the next couple of years?
AI's integration with Web3 is not very clear to me at this point. There are a lot of ideas. There's certain small sectors in AI that popped up, the whole AI agent space, the launch pads like virtuals. All these had a small spark, and then it didn't really work out as much. I mean, we still are yet to see. It's just been like 2 quarters or 3 quarters since these new narratives have popped up. For me, we're still building on a thesis on AI. We don't have a clear mandate on AI at this point. But if you ask me this year what I would be excited about to invest in.
Number one
would be RWA.
Okay.
I'd be very much excited to invest in upcoming opportunities in tokenization of assets and, of course, real world stuff. Mostly clean yield generating opportunities, let's just say. What I mean by clean is basically people sort of try to summarize everything in RWA. I have like very specific thoughts.
It's become a cliche now.
Yeah,
Real
yeah.
world assets. And
Yeah.
properties.
I mean, I tokenize this
you
table.
see that? And you see that on billboards nowadays.
I generate like 10% yield from the studio. Right? I mean, no, I cannot do that. So, real opportunities that have track record, that are already working in the traditional finance space, and you're just leveraging that business and bringing it to Web3.
Okay.
Those sort of opportunities would be interesting, where we know this works and not like tokenizing a table or tokenizing something new. So
Number two?
I think we take some time to get there. Number 2 is payments.
Okay.
Very boring niche, but the most important.
Yeah, I was
niche.
just about to say, it's a straightforward kind of
It's the
business
best
model.
use case. Best use case, really. I mean, see, payments is like sort of the rails to start or to connect other opportunities of DeFi in the space, right? But what I mean by payments, let me clarify that. I'm more excited to invest in cross-border settlements, like stablecoin settlements worldwide. I think the whole fintech space was what we've been waiting for. Everything is going to be revolutionized very quickly. The stablecoin settlement layers are coming where, you have a stablecoin in one country and you have stablecoin in another country, or say you're using the same stablecoin, for example, you can legally transfer them across countries without any barriers. Everything is tracked, of course, because it's on the chain. And global payments, global financial books will run on stablecoins, I believe, in one day. And payment becomes very exciting. Payments would be both institutional and consumer that we'll look at. Maybe we start with consumer first, much more easier. Institutional is a bit hard to integrate. So that's the second most
And your last, the third and last?
The last, I mean, a lot of people will hate me for this, but I would still do infrastructure. I think we all agree people in the VC space agree that there's too much infra. There's too much infrastructure. But I think the way I put infrastructure in place is let's say robotics becomes hot, right? So I would not mind investing in a blockchain or specific case robotics infrastructure in crypto, right? Infra is infra. It's better to invest in Shopify than invest in one specific e-commerce website. The Shopify powers the e-commerce, right?
Yeah.
So that's my thought process. It's got more network value. It's got more growth potential. So infra is definitely my thing, but more new sectors is where I would invest in infra. So.
Okay. What's the growing interest of institutional investors into the crypto space? Have you ever been, by the way, in a situation where you're from India, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Born and raised in the UAE, from India. I mean, Indians are known to be the biggest investors in the UAE, right? Have you ever...
Mostly real estate.
Mostly real estate. But this is what I want to get to, right? These guys are out there with loads of cash.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in an incident, whether it's personal or on a corporate level as part of Cypher Capital, where someone with a lot of money have just heard the word crypto, or someone told him, yeah, crypto is the next big thing, and he comes up to you and he goes Karan, I want to invest in the crypto space. What's the misconceptions that they have?
I think it's happened a lot.
I'm sure it does. It happens to me on a personal level.
Yeah,
I mean, when
happened a
some
lot.
of my friends, have heard, whistles saying that, oh, Saif is kind of involved in the crypto space. Bro, I want to invest in crypto. Bro, can you make money? If I give you money, I'm sure you've been in this situation.
Yeah, it's been, I don't do personal account management though. There's no time being a VC, but it's happened a lot. But what I've learned is there's a lot of excitement from people who want to explore the space. I think the only thing is they just don't know how. They're just trying to figure out, right? And if they have friends or people in the space, they're the first ones they reach out to, which is completely fair. My feedback has always been to people who've not really experienced anything in the crypto space is to just buy Bitcoin. See it for yourself. I think the first step to convert is to...
I hope you did that at the right time.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, it's all subjective, right? When you sort of invest. But in general, first is explore Bitcoin, hold it for some time, set up an exchange account, then you start reading a bit more. Don't get into anything that someone tells you on a WhatsApp group or a Telegram group that, hey, buy this is going to go 100x. Just don't believe in all of that. I mean, that group exists and it makes money. That's why they're consistently sharing stuff there, because that group is able to pull in the right people to, obviously take money from. So I would say just keep it clean. Think of it as an investment. Really go and read a bit about Bitcoin. Just there's no harm learning about this space, right? Learn about the use case of crypto, also Bitcoin as well. Store of value, payments, and start somewhere. Start with Bitcoin and then slowly get in.
You've not even mentioned the word Ethereum here. Why? Just Bitcoin.
I am, yeah. Well, I think because when you talk about Ethereum, right, the second most biggest token out there, but the most important thing is, like, I think when I'm sort of guiding people to start somewhere, I'm always talking about Bitcoin. Even if Solana was above Ethereum, I would still not talk about Solana, just talk about Bitcoin. Though as Cypher, we're like big holders of Solana, also hold Ethereum as well. And we hold a lot of altcoins. But I'm talking about generic, investors trying to explore the space. For them,
fair enough. The safest.
Yeah, nothing is safe, by the way.
Okay.
DYOR. But ideally, you should start somewhere. You should start with Bitcoin and then get into alts.
Right. With institutional investors out there and giants like BlackRock, Fidelity entering the crypto space, right? What's your take on it? Do you see the risk of centralization in a predominantly decentralized kind of industry?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think it's very hard to think that centralization would happen very, very soon. But though, if you see the network, 5% is sort of controlled by institutions, right, for the ETFs and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's going to keep going up. But I think to an extent, it's good. You need a bit of centralization, if that may happen, to stabilize the whole economy. We
were just talking about it, yeah.
Yeah, stabilize the whole market itself. Plus, these institutions are more long-term, which is great. The biggest challenge, for people who've been in this market for more than 2-3 cycles, the reality is that we all fixated into a 4-year cycle, right? We call it the halving cycle, or I call halving as the World Cup.
Yeah,
of
we
crypto.
are very much fixated. I'm one of them.
Yeah,
and I'm slowly started to kind of believe less into the whole idea.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, we're fixated to the 4-year cycle. It's like a World Cup, happens every 4 years, halving, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is that we need to move away from the whole 4 years theory, like, 2 years of bear, 6-7 months and 18 months of bull, as we say, right?
And it's we're seeing it right now. It's not performing as it should be according to the halving believers.
Yeah, I think the crypto market is always hooked on new ideas. They are hooked on the next narratives to keep them secure, like, or keep them thinking that everything is okay, right? Before the halving, we were talking about the halving is coming. After the halving, we're saying, 6 months it consolidates, just hold on, it's going to change. Then we're talking about Trump, right? And we're talking about whatnot. But I think in the end, in any markets, right, it's all about having believers in the space. Institutions definitely are very long-term driven. They are, of course, focusing on Bitcoin more. I speak to so many family offices today, and used to do that even in 2022. Comparatively, the big difference I've noticed is that family offices and big institutions now at least are interested in the space. Back then in 22, 21, there was maybe a little bit less interest, or they just didn't believe in the space. And maybe what Trump is doing in the whole world, creating a reserve, creating, issuing like a stamp, like, yeah, we are in, we're all in, right? Is helping institutions be a bit more excited about the space, which is great for us, right? Long term, it helps.
And not just Trump, sorry to cut you off. We're seeing like sheikhs, offices investing in like blockchain startups and AI and crypto-driven projects.
We had this news yesterday, right? It's super bullish about an institution investing in the largest exchange in the world. And there cannot be anything more bullish than that. And I think it all overall helps the ecosystem grow in a whole. I think for investors, they just have to keep on being long term, which is great. Institutions are that way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Trump, I mean, I didn't want to drop his name. You did, okay?
You're playing the Trump card on me.
Listen, I love Trump. I think he's great for the financial world. You know,
Yeah.
he's a businessman. As soon as he's come into the office, of course, boom, pro crypto market kind of, you know, pumped. How do you see Trump's kind of, you know, administration within the next 4 years affecting the global kind of crypto market?
I think on the short term, there's a lot of pain. But on the long term, say over a period of 4 years, it's extremely bullish. Like this
What do you mean by pain?
pain as in I think there are a lot of things that Trump wants to do in the country, right, in the US, where he mentioned it himself that we are in this transition, right? And you can clearly see how the markets are cooling off right now, right? There's so much data. If
Yes.
you go into it, then it's like an hour podcast. So, but
A
there's
lot
so
of
much
dodgy behavior out there. But yeah, let's not talk about it.
but it's like it's very clear that the markets are cooling off. We all are waiting for a liquidity trigger, which is probably interest rates cut. And for that to happen, everything needs to cool off. And short term, we need to see a market being corrected. And you know, even today, like there's so many people that are a bit concerned about the crypto market today because of course everything is down 30%, whatnot. And in the short term, we will have to endure that pain because to win, I think long term, we have to have some corrections, and it's healthy actually. So I'm pretty bullish on Trump administration to, in the long term, bring more adoption to our space. Would it be with more policies? Probably yes. Would it be with bit more buying on the reserve? I don't know yet. I think there's no clear
Are you with the
indication.
policies?
Some yes,
Yeah.
some maybe. But to be honest, like in the end, it still impacts our market. So you have to keep a close eye on what's happening. But I'm overall still bullish.
Okay. Now, I want to step away from investment, Cypher Capital, Trump, so on and so forth, and talk about the upcoming Unchained Summit, 28th, 29th of April. You're on the lineup.
Yep.
Right? What can we expect? What are you going to be talking about? What value are you going to bring to the Unchained Summit?
Well, on the summit, I'm mostly going to talk about mostly data. I'm actually working on a few things.
Are you on a keynote?
I'm not on a keynote. I'm actually going to be on a panel, mostly on a VC side, talking about investing, how it's changed dynamically, and then
That's always a full house.
probably talk a bit more about. I think the most interesting thing which I've spent majority of my time recently is to think about how the market is shaping up. Not only on the price action side, right? I think there's so many things that VCs think about. They think about liquidity. They think about the attention span, how retail is getting involved in the space. What are they buying? What are they not buying? And what's working, what's not working, and what's making money and what's not making money, right? So I spend a lot of time thinking about these things, looking at what we've done and looking at the data. And I'll be sharing a bit more about these new insights that could probably help a retail investor invest a bit more with bit more education. So
Okay. Well, if you guys want to meet Karan in person and pitch him your project, possibly, since he asked for it, you can check him out at the Unchained Summit on the 28th and the 29th of April. One last thing. Now, you do seem like a very calm and content person, but when I think of someone who is in charge of like investments and, you know, a partner of an investment firm, I think of loud, you know, crazy. How do you manage kind of stress level when you make a wrong decision, investing in a wrong project, or something goes wrong in the company? What type of person are you?
I'm overall a calm person, actually.
Very calm.
Yeah, I'm a pretty calm person. Very calculated, I would say. Take the bets with some thoughts. If things sometimes don't work in your favor, right? Sometimes the data that you thought would end up making crazy. The project that you think would end up doing extremely well doesn't end up doing well, right? Or there's some change in the markets. For us and for me personally, I'm usually always still calm. I end up making a note of the mistake and then figuring out how do we navigate. But in the fund itself, we do have social people as well.
Okay. I was just about to say, what's the team
I
like?
was just going to say, like, there are people who are out there who end up attending the most crypto parties. I don't end up attending a lot of parties though. But my time was mostly spent on thinking about new things and how can we invest more, better.
Okay. And since we're running out of time, one last question.
Sure.
One word to describe the future of Web3. Just one word.
Hodl.
Hodl. Amazing. Well, Karan, thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you guys for tuning in to the Hash It Over podcast presented by the Unchained Summit. This is going to be one of so many, of course, sessions that we're going to be having with industry leaders from the UAE and around the world. So make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next session.